Gen Z people, they do not take up ownership we're too brazen.
Yes.
We just like to talk back. We are really aware of our boundaries. I just knew that I did not want to be a doctor. That's a lot of studying. And engineering, I have to study physics. And I used to cry when I used to study physics.
Even today, my parents would give anything if I were to say, oh, I'm going to go back and apply for UPSC. I think they would give anything to hear that from me.
The change from college to work was a big shock. It's yeah. First of all, I could not wake up on time.
I'm going to be doing strategy. The rest 80% is about showing up and being consistent.
The manager is also evaluated by the performance of the junior and create a balance between myself and my work and everything in between.
A lot of people do choose to come into office,
Yeah.
Depending on how it affects their work productivity. Yeah, we don't want to do the work, we just want the life part of it.
I think a space that allows me to make mistakes. I feel like if I had to mentor myself, I would lose patience very quickly.
One word finally for Gen Z.
Misunderstood.
Hello everybody. They think fast, scroll faster and aren't afraid to speak their minds. Gen Z isn't just entering the workforce, they're already reshaping how we work, connect and communicate. And today, I'm joined by two Gen Z professionals from the PR and comms industry to understand what drives them, what do they expect from their careers, and how we, as senior professionals, can build a more inclusive, inspiring space for them to grow. Divyana Das, a graduate of Symbiosis Center for Media and Communication, Pune in the year 2023. She is currently an account associate with PR Pundit Havas Red. And joining her is Suchita Haldar, who graduated from the Indian Institute of Mass Communication, Delhi in 2024. She holds an English Honours degree from Calcutta University and now works for the Mavericks in Integrated Communication. Divyana, Suchita, welcome. Great to have you here with me today.
Nice to meet you, ma'am.
It's wonderful to be here with both of you today.
Okay, let's get straight to the point. What is a Gen Z?
I think, in my words, I would say a Gen Z is an amalgamation of all the generations that have come before. So I think I am a mix of my grandmother, my father, my mom, my brother, everybody. So there's a little bit of everyone. I feel like, for example, I think my work ethic, comes very strongly from my father, who worked in the tea industry. As Gen Z, all of us were just trying to explore our boundaries and find our own identities. I think that's what I think a Gen Z means.
Suchita, I don't know how much everybody relates to that.
No, definitely I relate to that because I also feel like everybody is an amalgamation of the people that we are around, the people that we are, we've grown up with. But I mean, there's this definitive, I think, rumor that we have to address that Gen Z people, they do not take up ownership we're too brazen.
Yes.
We just like to talk back. I think it's a little too much to say for us. Of course, I agree with Divyana where she's mentioning we are really aware of our boundaries. And I feel like since we are totally born in this digitally natives, we're the first digitally native generation. We were born with the internet and we know what's happening around the world, happening around us. So I feel like since there has been so much information around us, we somehow learned to choose our battles. We somehow knew okay, these are the things that I'm going to fight today and these are the things maybe I can just put it on the side. So I feel like boundaries definitely are something that Gen Z is owning up to. And yes, that's what we all are about.
Good. Okay, let's come to our profession. What drew you to this?
I am somebody who has a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, and a D, and etc. etc. So back when I was in 11th grade, we had a universities fair at my school, and we had a session where we could take an aptitude test and get some career counseling. So in that they told me that I'm more attuned towards a career maybe in mass communication or law, or something that required my interpersonal skills. So I think from there I kind of connected. I was like, okay, mass communication sounds very interesting, and I think growing up my parents always also said, you could be a TV anchor, because I would love to talk in front of people. So I eventually spoke to my friends, family friends, a lot of people, and I kind of stumbled upon what public relations is and what it meant as a career. And I think I was taken, I instantly felt that connection, because to be able to tell stories and build narratives for brands
something you enjoy.
It's something I really enjoy, and I didn't know I could have made such an amazing career out of. And then selected my college. A few twists and turns later, here I am working at a consultancy in Gurgaon.
And what about you? What drew you to this?
So while she likes to plan and organize all her thoughts and then choose a decision, I'm the person who just jumps into the opportunity.
You went with the flow.
Like, yes, going with the flow is all that I want to do, and I love doing actually. So in my college years, I did not really have much direction as to what I want to be.
Yeah.
I just knew that I did not want to be a doctor. That's a lot of studying. And engineering, I have to study physics. And I used to cry when I used to study physics. So I knew these two professions were out of my way, and I was only, going through life via elimination method.
No.
And then I stumbled upon English honors. And while pursuing that, I feel like that shaped me into the person I am today. Because right now I understand more about consumers and human minds and about stories.
Yeah.
I know most of my knowledge about stories and people and the lives of people is from what I have learned in my bachelor years, in my English honors years. So that's where I understood that I have a flair of, learning about stories and talking about stories and narrating stories. And that's where I decided to take up mass communication in IIMC. I pursued advertising and public relations because that felt closest to what I was trying to achieve in this life. And here I am now, working at an integrated marketing agency.
So you are from Khordo near Kolkata.
Yes.
You are from Jorhat, Assam. I would say, as compared to Delhi, small towns, you were able to convince your parents to leave and come here and pick up this, and like she said, not take medicine or engineering, but pick up something else.
It was definitely a stretch initially. Even today, my parents would give anything if I were to say, oh, I'm gonna go back and apply for UPSC. I think they would give anything to hear that from me. But I think what really helped was because I went to a boarding school as well. So they already had that experience where I was living away from home for some time. And then when I went on to pursue college in Pune, my brother was studying in Pune, so they were more comfortable with the city. So when I shifted there, after that, it only felt natural to move to maybe a metropolitan, for work. So I think that kind of helped them a little bit. But I think even now they are a little always that worry is there at the back of their head, because I'm living so far away from home, away from family. I mean, all we can do is just have open communication with them and let them know that we're doing okay, and that at the end of the day we're just a flight away.
What about you, Suchita? Was it difficult to leave and come here?
Absolutely. Since I'm a single child, so it was a definitely difficult task to convince them that, hey, I'm capable of living alone and I really want to try and pursue this. I'm not sure if I'm really great at what I do, but hey, I would like to love to try, and I would really love for you to support me through it. There were a lot of cryings and screamings and understanding each other, but I feel like somewhere they also trusted me with my decision, and somewhere they also thought, okay, let it just
give a shot to it.
Let me just give it a shot and see what happens.
So you both did comms as far as education is concerned. In your peer circle, are you seeing other people from other courses also making it fine in our fraternity? And if so, what kind of courses?
I think definitely, yes, definitely we do see a lot of people who come from different backgrounds, who've majored in different subjects coming to our...
Like
for example, I think my friends, this is more recent, like a couple of my friends ended up pursuing the MBA after mass communication, and they told me how almost like more than half of their batch has come from an engineering background, which is very surprising. But I think a lot of people tend to do that now. A lot of people I know in different agencies, my agency, people have come from doing their honors in pol science or psychology. So I think that's the beauty of our industry, that if you have I would say the ability and the talent to precisely convey what you're thinking, that kind of articulation and a creative imagination, and of course a zeal to learn, I think anybody from anywhere can come and do this. But then also definitely I will also put that caveat that the lead time
is more for them.
Is more for them. That definitely.
I agree to that fact because I know a chartered accountant who is now, leading the comms industry. So I feel like, of course, again, adding on to your point, definitely a zeal to learn, definitely a zeal to talk about your story. If you want to convey your message, definitely that plays a big role. And of course, just understanding people and want to connect the brand to the consumers, to connect the dots. I feel like that's really important.
Yeah. You did a freelance work before you joined IIMC.
Yeah.
Do you think that helps?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because for me personally, I did a lot of stints. I also did a few modeling gigs. I tutored some children. I did a few content writing work, of course, and I also interned with an organization, like a corporate work. And I constantly feel like whatever I have learned, however I have learned, has helped me translate all of those insights into my work. Say if I'm engaging with a brand that is primarily in the cosmetics sector, I remember how I used to feel in my modeling years, and I can translate some of the insights from there, from my personal insights, and then take up more research across the sector and translate it into my work.
But were there any surprises or challenges when you actually joined the industry?
Absolutely. I feel like the change from college to work was a big shock. First of all, I could not wake up on time. It was difficult because in college I used to stay in hostel, and I could just wake up at 10 o'clock and just attend the 10 o'clock class. But now for office I have to wake up at 7:30 or 8. So definitely the change was there, the shock was there. But I feel like what I told myself was, we are all evolving. We are all growing up.
Yeah. Any challenges you faced when you got in?
I think one particular incident comes to mind when I'm thinking of challenges. It's a little bit of a story. So I think when it was my first event, like it was my first official client event, and I think it was a retail client, it was for a mall. They were launching the second floor. They had invited quite a lot of people, about more than like 200 people. And at first, all I'm thinking about, because it's my first event, I'm like, okay, it's going to be all glamour, it's going to be all fun. And then I'm going in with that impression, I didn't anticipate that events tend to be way more ad hoc than you would expect. And when I came, the sheer number of people, like in your head, you're like, okay, 200 people, great, this event is such a success, and you're flying on that high, and then suddenly on ground, and you're like, oh my god, there are 200 people here, and I think we invited a journalist, and I had gone to just greet them and get them through the security and everything, and there was such a crowd that I ended up getting pushed out, and the journalist went inside, and I was like, please carry on, but the security person wouldn't let me back in because it was just so overwhelming, the sheer number of people. I literally had to call my teammate, and I was like on the verge of crying, and I'm like,
locked out.
I'm literally outside, can you please help me get back inside? And he's like, what? Otherwise he couldn't even believe what happened. I think in that moment, I did, for a moment, my brain did freeze. So I think going back, I think what I really learned was, while the glamour and the fun is definitely there, events are very dynamic, and it's something that you can't compare because it's so on spot. But I think what really matters is that you need to accept that there are things you can't control, and you need to have the presence of mind to be able to deal with them calmly. So,
but what can be done by the organization to make this transition from college to work life smoother?
For the first 3 months, I had a work buddy, and I think they also gave me about 2 to 3 months to acclimatize myself with this workplace, and also familiarize myself with my clients and get used to the pace. It gave me that space to actually kind of shift from my theoretical classrooms, whatever I had in my mind, because in my head, I think for a lot of my peers and even myself, when I'm in college and when you're learning all that theory, or in your head you have built this idea that, okay, when I'm in work, every plan is going to get approved, all my meetings are going to be in boardrooms,
I'm going to be doing strategy.
I'm going to be doing strategy. It's like you have this idea that you've built up for yourself, and that you're going to change the industry. But while that is definitely there in a profession, and but that's about 15-20% of what it is. The rest 80% is about showing up and being consistent.
Very true. That's a very
and
good
I think
concept.
that's having that time to really adjust to this new reality, I think really helped, especially with the support of somebody at work who has already been doing this for some time.
No, it's good to hear Gen Z saying the importance of showing up and being consistent. I think people would love to hear that.
No, definitely.
Anything you would like to suggest what could be done to make it smoother?
So I had managers assigned to me, and both of my managers were like
Coaching
way high up in their rank. So of course I would go running to them, asking them, hey, this is the problem I'm facing, what do you think I should do? But they would be so caught up in their own meetings and their own work that it was kind of difficult to find a time that I could catch up with them. So what I started doing was I started also working on my own, taking help from other people, and in that process I feel like somewhere I also started giving more than what I could allow myself to do. So while I was supposed to only do say 100%, there were days that I was giving my 200%, and eventually I was tiring myself out.
No, but in terms of the organization, are you saying that there could be some system that as part of the time sheet of, let's say, the managers, certain number of hours are allocated to guide interns? You think that would help?
I think there should be something like that, which helps individuals or their managers. Right now my organization has a buddy system. So the new entrants, they are all getting a peer assigned to them so that they can work through the few months better.
Yeah, but you spoke about time constraint. I'm thinking, I mean, there is some way that is properly allocated that you have to spend time, and maybe the manager is evaluated on the performance of the junior.
I think that should be a nice thing to do, where the manager is also evaluated by the performance of the junior. So they also get to know that, okay,
you actually supported
if it's
the junior.
But I feel like where I was also, going to point out that I was giving my 200%, but I had my managers, they were good people, so they could guide me back, and they told me that we don't want you to sprint through it, we want you to sustain through it.
Yeah, again, so the same thing like we said,
something that
show up and be consistent.
Yeah, so that's something I had to learn on my own as well, while I understood the meaning of the word that they had explained it to me. I should not be sprinting through my days. There are days I should know to take it easy and create a balance between myself and my work and everything in between. So I think in my case it was mostly told to me, and I feel like if there were some better ways, just like you mentioned, if there were some methods of evaluating juniors through the managers, I think that would be more put into practice.
Jumping off from what you said, I think that will definitely help, because I know when I've spoken to my peers and in my own experience as well, I know when we have brainstorming sessions with our managers, on the off chance when we get some time, it's very helpful. So I think maybe a weekly or a bi-weekly allocation of some time would be really great, where we can actually glean from their insights on how they have worked on campaigns initially and just build that kind of rapport. I think that would also definitely help.
Definitely.
Okay, let's come to a very interesting topic, work-life balance.
The
bane
of our existence, apparently.
Being in office 5 days, hybrid working, I mean, what works, or remote?
Do we want to say it together?
I think hybrid.
Oh my God.
Of course, for the win. But I mean, definitely I'm partial to hybrid because I'm working in that system right now, and I feel like it's actually given me the time again to keep up with work and having multiple clients at the same time. And I mean, because we all come from we live very far away from home. So in an ideal world, I would have loved to have a remote working setting, but given the requirements of our industry, I think it's very important to also have face-to-face time with all our stakeholders, internal, external.
How do you absorb the culture of the organization?
Absolutely.
How do you get to know people?
Essentially, and also the fact that you get that time to actually have a holistic relation with your team beyond work as well.
Exactly.
So you can understand each other, and it actually improves the chemistry quite a bit. So I feel like in that sense, hybrid really takes the win, because you get that time to pace yourself both physically, mentally. Because while I'm thankfully, like, I stay in Gurgaon, my office is in Gurgaon, but I know of people who travel from Noida, who travel from Delhi.
So I think sometimes the thought that comes is productivity. And the impact on productivity if you are at home.
To answer that question, I think where it lies is that exactly like you said, people tend to believe that because you're working from home, there is less productivity. But in fact, I personally don't feel so, because I think there are things we can complete much faster when we're in our own space, and we don't have like, a break in between of traveling or coming from here to there. Whereas, versus, being in the office. So there are different aspects of our work that we tend to complete. Even in fact, studies like there was a research paper by the University of Chicago that said almost 6 out of the 10 respondents said that their productivity was more increases when they're working from home, whereas only
not
14
wasting time on travel and
They're
whatnot.
also in their own space. So they are comfortable in their own space.
Okay.
I feel like that also adds
Is it?
to the
it definitely does.
Okay.
I love my table. I love the little collage I've done over my table. So I love sitting over there, and I feel like that gives me a sense of that I'm grounded in my in my seat and I'm working.
Yeah.
Whereas of course I also love working from office, but I also love working from my space at home.
I mean, you spoke about private space, but there will be many who don't have the private space at home because you have small houses and whatever. And that is where coming to work kind of equalizes everybody.
Definitely.
And
I feel like more than anything else, it's just about the flexibility that you get that option, because in my office, even though we do have a hybrid setting, a lot of people do choose to come into office.
To work.
Depending on how it affects their work productivity. I personally would not mind going, suppose we have to close something urgent, I don't mind going into office like for the entire week per se. But then the next week, I think that's where the question of work-life balance comes also into play, wherein I feel like people have this, I personally feel people have this misunderstanding that when Gen Z says work-life balance, it's like a very black and white concept that, I'm going to come in this time.
They just want to do life balance.
They don't want to do work. We don't want to do the work, we just want the life part of it. But that's not what it means. I feel like for me, when I say work-life balance, it's exactly what a hybrid setting is giving me, that for a week, suppose when I'm working on something very urgent and I've put in the late nights and I've put in, the extra days, I worked over the weekend. So what I would like is maybe in the next week or the coming day, either I can work from home or maybe I can, come in a little later than I was. So like in my office, there's a system of from 8:30 to 10, you have the flexibility of coming and accordingly completing your shift, and you can go in case you have something pressing either in the morning or in the afternoon. So to me, that's about all I'm asking when I'm saying work-life balance. So I think it's just that flexibility and that option that you have, instead of like being like, no, you have to be here every single day at 9 o'clock.
What kind of culture in the office you think would get the best out of the potential of a Gen Z again, let's say?
I think a space that allows me to make mistakes and listens to what I have to say. I have an interesting example over here. So first few weeks of my work, and I was in a brainstorming meeting with my manager and other seniors of the group, and we were all pitching for a campaign for Independence Day, and everybody was shouting over ideas. Like somebody was telling we should do this, we should do that, and I was just sitting quietly taking notes and everything. After the meeting ended, I walked up to my manager and I told him, hey, I really love the fact that you could just throw so many ideas. I also had a few running in my brain, but I just could not say because I constantly felt like I don't want to sound like an idiot. I just don't want to give silly ideas. But then he said something to me that sticks to me still to this day. He said, what could happen? What's the worst thing that can happen? We'll laugh at your idea, we'll reject your idea at max, we'll not eat you up over here. So just say it. You never know if it could have been one of the greatest ideas for today. So I think that really helped open me up. That I really opened up after that.
But tell me an instance that left a bad taste in your mouth.
I think there was this one time where I had to invite, people to, for an event, and I had spoken to a senior journalist, and I don't know, maybe I caught them at a bad day or whatever it was, and they weren't much too happy to get the call from me. And it was still pretty early on, and I think that really scared me a lot, because it left that hesitance that, because it was such a split second thing that I couldn't think, what could I have done? All I could do at that moment was just say, I'm sorry for bothering you, and then, cut the call. And I went and spoke to my manager about it and everything, and I was really, I was very shocked because I didn't expect that kind of and I was like, okay, maybe I went wrong, there was something, and my manager helped me understand that sometimes there are days like this where you have one or two interactions, but it's important to know that you can't carry that personally with you, because it's a lot of factors. But definitely it's always important to be polite and be as respectful as you can when you're taking somebody else's time. So I think that itself was one of the in the first few months, so it left quite a deep impression on me.
No, that is crisis is when one learns.
Definitely.
Tell me, both of you, a most memorable episode or instance in your career journey. Let's start with you.
It was on a business development pitch. It was for a new client, and I remember it was for a very big client, in fact. So we had multiple teams working on different segments of the account. This was really high impact, so we were working with a lot of senior leaders, and we had made the plan, we had fleshed everything out, and then we were sitting for the review. When you've been working for quite some time, I feel like we also tend to get that ability, question that, what else is there to learn, because like I said, a lot of it is routine. So then in that moment when I could hear them saying, my senior leaders being able to zoom into the matter at hand, and also zoom out and look at the bigger picture, that okay, if we do this is going to affect this, and this is how long term we have to think. I think all of that really helped me understand, there's so much that to learn still. And I think that one-on-one time that we usually don't get, for me that was very important, and we ended up winning that pitch.
Suchita?
Yeah, for me as well, I got to work for a business pitch for one of my most favorite brands. It's a brand that I cannot say right now, but it's a brand that I associate myself with very, very much, and I grew up with that brand. So it felt really surreal when I got to speak to the heads and the brains of the brand, and for them to hear me out, and for them to really like me, what I'm saying.
That you already appreciated the brand.
I felt really seen and validated, and I kind of felt like, okay, I am doing something in my life that I can be proud of myself, something that I can tell my children, the stories I can tell, I can write
That's
about
a long way to go.
Maybe I can start from here. But yeah, that really felt surreal, because I never imagined that I'd get to interact with a brand of that high scale. And for me to interact with them felt like, yes, I can do something with my life from here on.
Let's come to examples, which inspired you. Again, to try and understand what inspires a Gen Z. Tell me about a campaign that you thought was super.
I think so. It was something I've worked on pretty recently, and I think I've actually fully realized the extent of what we do and the impact we can create. So it was a event that we did for Finnair. Finnair is Finland's national flagship carrier. So they have this thing that they do with the Santa Foundation. It's called it's a Santa Claus tour. So they are the official airline for Santa Claus. So every year they do a tour across different cities where they bring Santa to meet kids across the world. And so this year when they came to India, we did a 3-part program for them, and one of the parts was to go to an NGO, where we went to an NGO, and we got gifts for the little kids, and it was just meet and greet between the kids and the Santa Claus, and it felt so heartwarming to see the kind of joy that we were able to bring to them, because the caretakers, they would tell us, a lot of them are children who have been maybe abandoned by their families, or who are here because their families are going through difficult times, and to hear the kind of wishes they would tell Santa Claus, it just really, I think, was a very humbling experience, and it really brought me a lot of joy to see, okay, this is something I have helped make happen.
You could make a difference.
So to make a difference with so much intent, it's something that it really left, I think, a very long-lasting impact on me, and I would love to do something more like that again and again.
Have you faced any crisis situation?
It's one of the biggest FMGC brand, and I was just onboarded on the brand 2 days ago, and we were having a really peaceful Sunday morning. I'm just groggily waking up, and we suddenly see a lot of news popping into our group. We realized that there has been a case where a customer was harassed by one of the workers of one of the branches of the brand, and she had went ahead and she has taken the matter to the social media, and news had picked up from there. It was crisis from there on, and everybody was on the table. We were having meetings from back to back. We were understanding what went wrong, and the action was on point. Action was happening immediately. We talked to the consumer, the police complaint was filed, the worker was questioned, that was taken care of, the statement was filed out, and then onwards we were talking to all of the news agencies or the news publications who had carried the news to add our statement, our point of view to all of the news. So while I was very much on the, I was just mostly monitoring the media, I was monitoring the news and seeing what was happening around the world. I got to first-hand experience what actually goes about. While there is chaos all about, while everybody was solving the problem, the seniors were all solving the problem, I could see the back-end work of it all, where they were all calmly understanding the problem and they were understanding what needs to be done and what after that.
Let's come to the last bit, which is your single word response to some things I say, and let's start with the word you used right in the beginning, boundaries.
Gen Z, definitely.
Okay, what is the word that comes to your mind? Boundaries.
Workplace boundaries. Because I mean, it's a lot to do with the fact that you give that trust and faith to somebody to do their work, and not micromanage. So I think that's one word.
Micromanage.
Yeah.
Okay. Startup or MNC?
MNC for me, because there are a lot of brands I would like to work with.
Startup for me, because I really value the culture and the people I'm associating with. So,
buzzword you love?
Insight, definitely. I think I've heard it multiple times and I think I'm really taking a liking to that.
Strategy for me.
Okay, so let me say strategy and now you give me a one-word response.
Content strategy, because I think now the times are changing.
What I mean is, if I'm saying strategy, what is your immediate response to the word strategy?
That immediately, I'm thinking storytelling, I'm thinking,
But that's a serious outlook. I mean, when I say strategy, if what comes to your mind in terms of...
To be very honest, an Excel sheet. That's the first image that pops up in my head.
Okay.
For me, brainstorming.
Email or WhatsApp or SMS?
Can I choose two options? It's a little bit of both email and WhatsApp, because WhatsApp faster, but email is where I'm most comfortable in.
It's very strange. I mean, I'm told in US and other countries, WhatsApp doesn't work. Yeah, in India, I guess it's a lot.
A couple of my foreign clients do use WhatsApp, but even then, you're correct, because they tend to draw the boundary that it's only for emergencies in case I'm unavailable in email. But definitely every official communication on email.
I find WhatsApp really
convenient,
useful and easy. Because the conversation happens faster and it ends faster. So it's easier to keep the loop there.
If you had access to a senior leader for 5 minutes, what is that one thing you would ask?
I think I would ask them, how are you so patient? Because I've seen all of my seniors go through some of my most stupidest questions and still give me a very calm and happy answer. So I feel like if I had to mentor myself, I would lose patience very quickly. So I think I really need to learn that from them.
Yeah.
I think for me the question would be, and I would ask this to you, ma'am, is do you ever feel like you know enough? Like, does the imposter syndrome ever?
I'll tell you when you feel you know a lot. When you just got out of college, that time you feel, oh, I know everything. I'm out to own the world. And then you slowly realize, oh my God, the well is so deep. There is just so much to learn, so much, and you're learning every day. But when you don't know how deep the well is, that time you feel you know everything. Okay, one influencer that comes to your mind, whom you like.
Her name is Megha Theng. She's an influencer from Darjeeling. She's a small creator, but I love that she's bringing her story to such a public forum, and she's working with such amazing brands and getting such a platform to express where she comes from.
For me, it's the rebel kid, Apurva Mukhija. So
I don't know. See, so that's a generation gap happening over here. Whom do you look up to as a role model?
My mother, for sure.
Yeah.
Because she's
Likewise?
the first.
Same, my mother.
She's the first person who told me to, just do it. Just say it. Just go for it. It's okay. 1,000 people will say 1,000 things. She's scared for me, definitely, but I think that's the main reason why she is letting me do what I want.
Do you read books?
Yes.
More of a movie person.
What was the last movie you saw?
I think I rewatched Black Swan again. So it's an amazing movie.
What was the last book you read?
The last book I read, and I'm still currently trying to complete, is Anxious People by Frederick Beckman. I think that's, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing last name correctly, but yeah.
You should pick up something from here.
Definitely. My eyes going everywhere.
Yes. So
Instagram or LinkedIn?
Again, both. Because I feel like it's
Instagram or LinkedIn?
Currently, to be very honest, LinkedIn.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
What about you?
Instagram, definitely.
Instagram.
I think I spent more than 7 hours on my Instagram.
You're totally the type A, type B. I mean, you can see that there is a proper difference over here. Okay, what matters more to you? Brand, reputation, work culture, or the job itself?
I think definitely the work culture, because no matter your job role, if your work culture is not great, you can never learn.
I think when I first started, it was more for the job role to me, but slowly I'm realizing it's more about the people I'm working with, the organization I'm contributing, and I think that makes big of a difference than I realized before on. So definitely a learning.
One word finally for Gen Z. What is that one word?
Misunderstood.
Bold, and definitely somebody who is out to, just define whatever works for them.
I hope today we've broken some stereotypes over here.
Hopefully we've represented our generation well.
I think otherwise we'll have a lot of people to answer.
Yeah.
It was such a pleasure because both of you are so articulate. Lovely talking to you. I'm going to give both of you a hug. This is so nice just talking to both of you
so much.
and wish both of you all the best in what you're going to be doing tomorrow. Really very nice. Thanks for joining me here
Thank
today.
you so much for having.
I hope this conversation offered a small but meaningful glimpse into what today's young professionals are thinking, hoping for, and navigating as they step into our industry. And if it sparks reflection on how we can better support, mentor, and collaborate with them, then it's been time well spent. Thank you for listening and for being part of the conversation.